So this is my story of an experience that I had where it was clearly a prejudice being exemplified and maybe even a bit of racism. So there was a time when I was stationed in California. Well, not me. My husband was stationed in California, and he was on the TDY. I had my youngest daughter already, and she was still a baby and also being nursed. And during this time, I had been having some side effects from an antibiotic that I was put on, and I needed to go and see the doctor. Like the situation was not getting better, and I was starting to be concerned because it started becoming a nuisance. It was hives and edema, and it started slowly presenting itself on my face, and so I was kind of getting nervous about me. Hey, maybe I'm having an allergic reaction that could end up deathly. I'm not sure, but since I don't know what it is, I want to get it looked into. I was fortunate enough to have a very good friend named Sarah, who I consider to be more than a friend, actually my sister, and she is of the Caucasian race. Sarah is also a nurse, but she at the time was a stay-at-home mom. And so I knew that if I had reached out to her and asked her if she could assist me in going to my appointment, that way she could hear what it is the doctors were saying, and also be able to help me with Joy, because I was not going to leave her with anyone um, due to the nursing and all that different type of stuff. I wanted to know if she could help me at the doctor's office. So she definitely accepted, because she's a friend. That's what friends do. You know, we kind of put our lives on hold to go and be a comfort and an assistance to my brothers and sisters who may need us. And at that moment in time, I felt I needed her, and so she was present. I get to the doctor's office, and they actually sent me to a different office because I needed a same day appointment. So I was grateful for that, but it wasn't my normal doctor's appointment doctor's office that I would go to. So I got there. We got there early, a couple of minutes early. Checked in, and I noticed that people who came after me was called ahead of me. But I didn't, maybe their appointment was actually before mine. I don't know, so I didn't want to assume anything. So me and Sarah were talking and everything, and then we noticed a little bit more time goes by. So I go and check, find out, hey, my appointment was at such and such time. I haven't been called yet, but I've noticed that other people are being called. So right away, they, surprise, have my room is ready. And so they call me back, and I gesture to my friend Sarah, and I say, okay, yeah, you can come. I really want you in the office visit with me. And so she came, and at that moment was when I made the transaction of me giving Joy to her to be in her care, so that I could, still be present with the doctor and all, without Joy being a distraction. So we get in the office, they take my vitals, they ask all the questions they need, the nurse does, and as she gets ready to leave the room, she turns to go leave the room, and then she turns back, and she's like, oh, before I go get the doctor, I need to ask, what is your relationship to her? And she points to Sarah. I have to say, we were in the state of California, and life is what it is. And so I chuckled because I had assumed that maybe she thought we were partners. But to my surprise and embarrassment, and I don't even have the words to explain how I felt after, she clarified what she meant by our relationship. I just don't have the words. Humiliation, that would be the best word. And this is what she says. She says, no. Is she your social worker? Social worker? Why was that question even asked? At that point, I was probably 36 years old, and in my 35 years of living and going to a doctor's appointment, I had never been asked that question outside of parental consent. Either they was asking if I was my children's mom or if my mother was my mom. Um, but for her to emphasize and then go further into detail that she assumed that because this Caucasian lady was in the room with me, holding my child, that, and Sarah's always polished, she's always poised, and that day, I wasn't. I wasn't feeling well. I was in sweats and a t-shirt and probably a ball cap. But because of the way I looked and the way Sarah looked and just all that was taking place, she assumed that Sarah was my social worker. And I was floored. I couldn't believe that out of all the many different relationships we could have had, that would be the one she assumed me and my friend was relatable with. And so, as much as I wanted to probably say other things and present myself otherwise, I remembered who I was in Christ. And then I also remembered that this is probably the best moment for me to be the gospel to her. And so I politely looked her in the face and I said, no, she is not my social worker. We're very good friends. In fact, we consider each other sisters. And that silence was what was felt in the room afterwards. Sarah couldn't believe that she had just sat and witnessed the conversation take place between a nurse and a patient. And in her shock and awe, I would say, she spoke up and she clearly said, that had nothing to do with her receiving care. The question wasn't even necessary. And then she looked at me and she apologized. And, we continued the appointment. And I got all the information that I needed to know. And Sarah was able to help me understand what it was they were saying to me. And as we drove home, we both were just floored, just in disbelief that this had just taken place. And for the first time, Sarah got to witness prejudice and maybe even racism experienced by me, a black woman, in everyday living. So in that situation, hopefully how I thought I presented myself was how I presented myself. But I think those moments, even though it brings much anger and many, many other emotions that are attached to experiences like that, I know God calls His children, calls us to be more and to respond in a way that would be pleasing in His sight. Yet, I was able to give her a firm answer in love that her assumption was totally wrong. So my prayer as I go through life is that I will be able to exemplify Christ and His love to people, even in their unrighteousness and even in their prejudices, and just be able to show love and grace and mercy. Hopefully that nurse, because I did fill out a complaint, letting them know that this was my experience. I never heard back from it, probably never will. But hopefully it was something that was discussed in a workplace and explained to that lady. But that was not how we treat our patients, let alone people in general.